If you are no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stop judging yourself, would you make different choices? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here's the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach, Christine McIver.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are talking about how vulnerability in business adds value. Yes, we're going to be talking all about business because that's one of my most favorite subjects. So where are you at with your business? And where are you at with vulnerability? We're going to dive deep into this subject tonight. I'm going to be pushing your buttons, and I'm going to be challenging you to really look at how you are doing business, how you are interacting with business, and how you are interacting with your clients in business with vulnerability. So, just to tell you a little bit about myself, if this is the first time you're joining me, I am Christine McIver. I am a possibilities coach. So I work with individuals and organizations to create what they know is possible, but are challenged in figuring out how to make that possible. I absolutely love to stretch people and to really invite them into looking at things from a new perspective. Because if you do desire something different, you've got to be willing to look at it in a different way. So when you're working with me one-on-one or in a group, you can expect me to absolutely challenge you. You can expect me to be your greatest cheerleader, and you can expect me to probably sometimes tick you off. And that's okay. If you're willing to go where you've never gone before, that's some of the things that are required. So there is a number of things that I do. As I said, I'm a possibilities coach. I'm also a radio show host, radio show producer, and I'm the proud owner of the Inspired Choices Network. I am also an energy healer. I am a business coach. I work with a number of different people in lots of different areas. Now, a couple of my favorite creations, the first one is called The Pleasure of Business. And this is where I really invite business owners and entrepreneurs to step into having pleasure with their business and showing them how it doesn't have to be all work and no play. You can have so much pleasure with your business when you're really willing to dive in and look at where you're stuck. The second program that I really love is called Divorce with Dignity. Now, this program is for individuals that are either in an intimate relationship and it's coming to a conclusion, or it's already come to a conclusion, or they're actually looking at ending an intimate relationship. But it doesn't stop there. It also extends to relationships with maybe owners, business owners that you work with, or clients, or family members, anywhere where a relationship has run its course and you'd like to end it without having to go into crazy town. This is the program where I work with you to show you how you can honor everyone in the relationship and have it conclude. So if you'd like to know more about any of these subjects or you'd like to connect with me, you can do so at Christine@inspiredchoices.ca, or you can check out my website, inspiredchoices.ca, for all my programs and services. So, tonight, how vulnerability in business adds value. Are you trying to be a good business owner? Are you trying to show up confident? What about acting successful? How many of us actually do that, where we're like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to show up? What am I supposed to look like? What am I supposed to, wear? And we go into this panic, and we're trying to be something that maybe doesn't come naturally for us. Would you be open to a new possibility with vulnerability in your business? Vulnerability in business is actually a big secret. A lot of people don't talk a great deal about it. A lot of business owners out there are telling us, if you're looking at a lot of successful people who are putting on programs and courses, and maybe they've created books, they're often telling us how we're supposed to do something. what I'd like to invite you into is looking at what you're creating and what you are actually doing in your business from this internal aspect of you. So, tell me, first of all, what does vulnerability mean to you? Now, for most of you that are listening to the show, whether it's live or it's in the replay, you're probably not really freaked out about vulnerability, or you're willing to maybe look at it. A lot of people that are freaked out about vulnerability, and many of these people are business owners, will likely not listen to this show. Because if you're freaked out about vulnerability, the last thing you want to look at is vulnerability. Now, typically, vulnerability is about being in harm's way. It's about showing up in the world and really being quote-unquote naked for someone to take advantage of us. That's what this society, this reality, says about being vulnerable. You know, when I talk to people about vulnerability, they tell me that they try to protect themselves so they're not vulnerable. They're not vulnerable to a predator. They're not vulnerable to judgment. They're not vulnerable to people who could actually hurt them. Well, here's my question to you. Can anybody truly hurt you? Really? If you're really being present in your life, you're really being present with who you are, and you've done a lot of deep diving into what goes on with you on an emotional level, you've really looked at your triggers, no one can hurt you. No one can really push your buttons if there's no buttons there to push. Now, if there are buttons that people can push, that's okay. You are a human being. You're going to have things that have happened in your life that, you know, you're going to have some spots where it hurts, where it absolutely triggers you. That's all right. But your willingness to be vulnerable with yourself is the first step to beginning to change where you believe that you're vulnerable with other people and it can hurt you. So, again, let me ask you this question. What does vulnerability mean to you? And are you willing to actually expand what that possibly could be? What were you taught as a young child? What were your parents' messages to you about vulnerability? Right? So many times as young children, we were told, you know, maybe don't act that way. You don't want to be vulnerable to the bullies, right? Don't talk like that, or don't dress like that. You're going to put yourself in a vulnerable position, right? Well, a lot of people see vulnerability as a weakness. Is vulnerability really a weakness? Or is vulnerability a place where you are so strong and so secure with yourself that it doesn't matter what anyone says to you, or what you say, or what you create, or anything you've ever done in your life can ever come back and hurt you? How many of us cover up things that we've created in our lives? We don't want to actually show people who we truly are, because in that we believe that in some way they're going to be able to use that against us. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever had those thoughts? I know I certainly have. There was so much of my life, especially when I first started in business, where I was trying to, quote unquote, be the businesswoman, be the professional. And, you know, it was intense. It was intense because it's kind of like trying to hide a lie all the time. How many of you try to hide lies? It's, you know, especially when you're a little kid, right? You're trying to hide the lie, and the whole time you feel like it's going to jump out of your mouth any minute. that is a great deal of pressure. That's a great deal of contraction in your body. When you are trying to hide who you truly be, what is that actually creating for you and your business? I'd really like you to look at this, because what I know is when you are very present with yourself and you're present with what you are doing in your business and how you're interacting with people, and you really show up as the truth of who you are, there is such a beautiful energy. It's such a gorgeous invitation that people are drawn to you in a very, very different way. You don't have to do business from a push energy. You can be the energy of the invitation for people to want to work with you. When you are willing to be who you truly be, people show up differently with you. People connect with you in a very, very different way. And I'm sure that you can see people, professionals, people, in the public eye, that they, quote unquote, show up as business people. And there's this push, there's this put on, as my mother used to say, putting on the dog. They're putting on the dog. They're pretending or trying to be something that is maybe not natural to them. They're trying to be something that isn't ease for them. Have you ever heard of somebody being on the mic and then they thought the mic was off and then they said something completely different than when the mic was turned on? That's someone that's trying to be something that they actually aren't. So if your mic was left on, would you still be who you were when the mic was on? Ask yourself that. If somebody actually overheard a conversation, would that be something that you would cringe at? Would that be something that would be difficult for you? Are you willing to drop all of your barriers, just with you, and start to get real with yourself? Start to get real about who you are and how you are showing up for you in your business. Because I'll tell you what, and we're going to dive deeper into this after the commercial break, but when you're willing to get vulnerable with you and really start to look at how you are being with you in business, you are going to start to show up and create something different with your clients and, on your social media platforms in such a different way that things will dynamically begin to change. Dynamically. You will have a level of confidence, maybe not right out of the gate, but you'll start to have a level of confidence because you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to hold your breath that you're doing it right. And would you be willing to actually begin to look at, from that space of vulnerability, would you actually be willing to look at how brilliant you really are and what you actually have to bring to the table? Now, you can go back into my archives. I think this is show 183. I've got a lot of different shows that you can listen to. And one of the really big messages that I speak to a lot regarding business with business owners is acknowledging the gift that you are, acknowledging the brilliance that you are. And when you show up and you show up with what lights you up, that's where your brilliance starts to come through. That's when you start to shine like you've never shined before. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to invite you into, really looking at the brilliance that you are and what you can now let go of so you can be much more present and much happier and joyful, where business can be a pleasure with utilizing vulnerability. So when we get back from the break, we're going to dive into how vulnerability can actually be a contribution in your business and how it can add so much value for your clients and customers. So if you would like to call in, you'd like to ask any questions, you can certainly do that. In the U.S., call 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. You can always Skype us at Inspired Choices Network, or come on over to the network and join us in the chat room. You can ask your questions in there as well. So you are listening to myself, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network, where tonight we're talking about how vulnerability in business adds value. We'll be back right after this short commercial break. I hope you will be too.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The Pleasure of Business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page Pleasure of Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
And I am the host. Hello, welcome back everyone. This is Christine McIver, and tonight we are talking about vulnerability in business. And vulnerability in business and how it can actually work for you and how it can actually contribute and add value. So before we went for the break, I was really inviting you into asking the question about what does vulnerability mean to you? And where are you maybe denying being vulnerable? Where are you trying to push away vulnerability? And where are you actually not willing to look at how vulnerability can actually be a contribution in your life? A lot of people get very scared with the word vulnerability. They immediately put up like this energetic barrier. And right now, everybody, I'd just like you to drop your barriers. I would just like you to take a deep breath and just for this moment, just open up to the possibility that there's something here for you. Because if you're listening, if you were somehow tripped across this show, there's something here for you. So be willing to look at this. See what contribution these questions can be for you. So, we have a question in the chat room by my wonderful producer, Jennifer. She says, how do you entice clients and customers with buying into your business when your business isn't successful yet? How do you sell it? That's a great question, Jen. And the first thing I'm going to say is don't sell it. Don't sell it. Because the energy of selling is the pushing. Now, we all are in sales. Every single human being on the planet is in sales. And a lot of people put up these walls and, I'm not in sales. Yeah, you are. Do you have a child? Do you ever try to sell them on eating some food? Do you have friends and you sell them on a great movie? Do you try to entice people to do things that you'd like them to do? That's selling. Now, let's flip the energy and let's use the analogy of a child, okay? A child with food. We've all know someone, or we've all done this with a child, where we're trying to get them to eat something that we've decided and concluded they need to eat, right? And we like, I can remember as a young child feeding my nieces and nephews, or even feeding my kids, and you're doing like the plane thing, so you can maybe trick them into it, like, oh, here comes the plane, or here comes the train, right? You're trying to trick somebody, right? How much has sales got the energy of tricking someone, right? What if you were actually eating some food, some brand new food, and you didn't push it? You didn't even ask the child if they were interested in it. You just put it on your plate, and you started to enjoy that food like you were enjoying a lover. Like you were like, oh my gosh, this tastes so amazing. I don't think I have had anything taste so phenomenal like this in years. Like, my mouth is so happy right now. Now, how much is a child going to be so curious because you're enjoying something and they're like, they're so curious all the time, right? They want to be like, what are you doing? What is that? Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? How much would that actually entice a child to say, either you're crazy, Mom, or can I try some? Can I have a taste of it? Right? So you don't have to have the words, but you can have the energy of, this is something that is absolutely phenomenal. Now, here's my question to Jen and to everyone out here who resonates with that question from Jen. Do you enjoy what you create? Do you enjoy what you're doing in business? And that question may spark some interesting energies. It may push some buttons, because a lot of us are coming from the perspective of, in order to make money, we have to do certain things. And enjoying business is a luxury. Well, I'm going to challenge you and say that if you're not enjoying your business, it can be a massive reflection on the amount of business you actually have. Okay? We have smarter clients, we have smarter customers in the world, and they can totally tell 100% when you're bullshitting. They can totally tell 100%. It's like a dog that smells fear. They can smell when you're pushing. They can smell when it's bullshit. You can walk into a store and you can tell the energy of another person, whether you think you're not reading energy or not. You can tell the energy of another person, where they're going to be a contribution to your experience in their store, or they're going to be somebody you're going to have to say 2 or 3 times, no, I'm good, I'm just looking. No, I'm good, I'm just looking, right? Because they're coming at you with their energy. And it's not necessarily their words, it's not necessarily their body language, it's an energy, all right? Those people will walk into the store and they're joyful and they're just happy to be in what they're doing. That's an invitation for you to relax and be open to what's there. Now, can you transform that experience? And can you say that you have that experience with you in your business? Now, Jen goes on to say, is what I am hearing is that when I receive all that I have created, then I can also trust that others will sense it too. Well, receiving what you created is fabulous, but my question is to you, are you having pleasure with what you've created? Are you enjoying it? And a standard question is, would you buy what you create? Right? The thing is that when we're enjoying something, when we're really having fun with it, it is an invitation like no other, because people are attracted to enjoyment. And when you really get the value of you, when you absolutely get the value of who you are, there will be customers out there that will also value you. You know, for instance, today has been a fabulous day. The last couple of weeks, we've had a couple new hosts on the network start, and I absolutely love creating with new hosts. It's so enjoyable for me. And when I talk to new people that are interested in maybe becoming a radio show host, I get to spend an hour one-on-one with them. We do a video conference, and I talk about, you know, all the possibilities on the network and what we're doing. And then I get to know them, and I really get intimate with what they desire to create and how they'd like to bring their voice into the world. I have so much fun. I get messages from people all the time. I had such a great time talking to you, Christine. Like, this was so awesome. I'm excited about what's coming up. And just a couple of hours before this show, we had a new host start, and we had one start a week ago as well. And both of them are just, they're over the moon with the excitement because of the contribution that I have been and how I make it fun and enjoyable. And I don't do that from a push energy. That's who I be. And it's when I finally got to the space of being vulnerable with me and being vulnerable with what turns me on and lights me up in business, I started to show up in the world being and doing that. Now, that is a contribution to me, to my life, to my relationships, to my bank account, and to my business and to my customers and clients. So you see, when you're doing your business from the space of pleasure and enjoyment for you first, it vibrates out, it ripples out to everyone around you that is looking to do business with you. So all of this starts with you. This is the value that vulnerability can be to you in business, because you're in business with you first, right? Before you're in business with anyone else, you're in business with you first. And if you're going to spend, 40 hours a week or, 70 hours a week or whatever the case may be, or 10 hours a week in your business, be it full-time or part-time, don't you want to do that from the space of enjoyment? Don't you want to do that from the space of, I love doing what I do? Today is a live radio day, and I've been on the network working with the hosts and producing and working with the producers and doing all sorts of things. It's like 13 hours, and I am still lit up. Like, I am still enjoying myself because I was willing to take the time to get vulnerable with what actually turned me on and lit me up in business. And people can sense that with me. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But when you are truly willing to get vulnerable with you, and when you're really willing to see that you don't have to put on airs, that you don't have to try to be perfect, you don't have to try to fit into the mold of what a professional business owner looks like or acts like or talks like or how they do business or what they do business about, when you're willing to break that mold for you, this is when you can really begin to create into your future with pleasure and ease, because you don't have to pretend anymore. And my friends, this is the secret with the vulnerability. This is the place where showing up really can be such a gift for you and for your business. So, I've been really going on here, and I'm really loving this conversation, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to, I love getting your text messages and your social media messages and your emails about what this is creating for you. And I would love to know what else is speaking to you where you'd like a little bit more in your business. What else do you feel is stopping you, and what other conversations would you like me to bring to this platform? Please do email me. Please do message me, because it's because of each and every one of the listeners that these shows continue to expand. And I absolutely love hearing from you as well. So we are going to go off to our next break. When we get back, we're going to dive a little bit more into the how to be vulnerable with your business. You are listening to Inspired Choices Radio Show here on the Inspired Choices Network with myself, Christine McIver. Tonight, how vulnerability in business adds value. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning in to Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, tonight we're talking about vulnerability in business and how it adds value. So let me ask you this question. Have you decided or concluded that being vulnerable with your clients would actually put you at risk of losing them? Truth? Many people believe that. And many people believe that if they are vulnerable with their clients will think that they're unprofessional. You know what? Being vulnerable is really a bold act in business. And it's really being willing to be a business leader. If you are willing to drop all of the pretenses and you're willing to be straight up with your customers and clients, I'm telling you, you will cultivate relationships in such a different way that it will actually shock you. Have you ever sat down with a friend and you've shared something with them, and after you shared it with them, the relationship between you and that person expanded? That relationship became richer, more intimate, that you could actually be with that person without saying a word and you could feel the connection between them. Or you see them across a room and you just nod and you know that that connection is strong. Do you desire to have that deep and very strong connection with your clients and your customers? Do you know that that is not only possible, but essential in today's world in business? Now, when I grew up, you know, my dad, if you've listened before, I've told this a couple of times, but my dad was in his own business. And he worked with lots of different companies, and he worked with, he had lots of different employees. He was in construction, and, he always wanted to make sure that, when we answered the phone, that we were very professional on the phone, and that, we didn't do anything wrong. And he would show up in business the same way. And he put himself under so much stress that he was always trying to get it perfect and get it right. And that created a lot of emotional angst in his world. And that, it spilled over into our lives, into our family, into our home. And yet he had this charming, joyful, boisterous personality that when he showed up with that truth of him, and it's true when it makes you smile. It's true of you when it lights you up, okay? When it's hard and heavy and dense, it's not who you be. There's something in there that's a lie. But when he would show up that way, he would strengthen his relationships with people. He would draw them in, and he wasn't trying to be that. That's who he was. You cannot laugh. You cannot laugh and be real, or not real. I love this show, Roseanne Barr's show. What's the name of that? I'm sorry, I completely went blank on that. Jennifer will know it. But at the opening of the original show, when they had Roseanne, sorry, duh. At the opening of Roseanne on the original show, her laughter was so real. It would make you laugh, and you could just hear that laughter, and it would pull you in. Exactly. Thank you, Jennifer. It's contagious. But on the new series that they just did, it's not really her laughing. She's trying to duplicate it. Instead of creating something new and contagious, they're trying to duplicate it, and it doesn't have the same energy. Now, we love Roseanne. We love all of the players on there. It's love. It's like getting back together with an old friend in this show. So I'm not dissing on Roseanne. I love the show, but it's different. There is a difference to it. So ask yourself, are you being real? Are you really showing up with you? Or are you putting on the dog? Are you trying to be something that is not truly you? People will pick up on this. And, it's kind of like, have you ever, at the end of the day, maybe you've been to a meeting or you've connected with clients or customers, and at the end of the day, you kind of looked over your day and you were really joyful, or you said, you know what, good job, Christine, you did an awesome job. Or have you kind of went, oh, shit, that was so hard and that wasn't fun and I didn't enjoy it? Do you have those experiences where you look back? It's good to examine what you've done. It's good to get in touch with what you created in that day. And in those places where you didn't have fun, in those places where it was this push energy, would you be willing to look at how you could have done that differently? How you could have shown up more as you? When you're willing to be present with your clients, you create something different. So right now, I want you to kind of look at, Jennifer says, most of my days are good job, but the days that are, oh shit, I totally agree. Awesome. Cool. And that in itself is just being vulnerable, willing to look at what you did in that day. You know what? Your willingness to be vulnerable might look like this. You might have a customer or client that says, this is what I need, or can you do this? And instead of bullshitting them and scrambling and thinking, yeah, I can figure this out or whatever, and you say to them, absolutely, I've done it many times, right? Or no problem, I've got this, right? What if you actually connected with them energetically, whether it's over the phone or in person or over, Zoom or Skype or whatever, and you looked them in the eye and you said, you know what? I've never done that before, but if you'd give me 24 hours, I'm going to look into this, and I'm going to see what I can do to actually create that for you. You get the energy of that? You get how I'm willing to be vulnerable and say, I don't know, but here's what I'm going to do. And I'll get back to you in 24 hours. Now, guys, this is where I'm going to kick your ass and I'm going to say, show the hell up. Show the hell up with being real about when you can come back to them. And then for the love of God, come back to them in 24 hours. Do whatever it takes to see what it is that you can create, but be straight up with them. You know, being vulnerable is actually saying, I can't get this to you in 24 hours. Being willing to say, I would need 48 hours. I would need a week. Whatever the case may be, be real with your customers. Be real with your clients. They will appreciate that more than anything. When you're willing to drop all the pretenses, when you're willing to actually be present with someone, you create a connection with them that will be more valuable than the deal you gave them, than the price break you gave them, than all of the extra bells and whistles you put on. They will value that because guess what? You know, it's not what somebody is actually buying. It's not what they're actually walking away with. It's the experience that you're creating that they will value, that they will remember. People don't remember the words. People don't remember all of these details, but they remember how you make them feel. And when you're being vulnerable with someone, when you're really willing to say, hey, this is what's going on for me, or this is what has gone on for me, when you're willing to really be straight up and create that deep connection with someone, they will refer to you. They will come back to you time and time again. And you know what? Maybe you're in a business where, you know, come to you and you're like, you're a one-off. Like they would come and once they have purchased that product or service from you, they won't ever have to do that again. Guess what they will do, though? They will refer you when what you do comes up with people that they're speaking to. The greatest piece of business, the greatest bridge that we build with people can actually be the bridge that bridges us to new clients and customers. And being vulnerable and willing to truly be who you are changes everything. I know people, I have a very dear friend, I love her to bits, and she is someone who's very reserved. She's not as outgoing as I am on a verbal basis. She's brilliant. I love her to bits. What she does in business, you know, contributes to me all of the time. And when she shows up in a group, I remember when I first met her, she was quote unquote, and she would confirm this, that she was trying. She was doing that push energy of trying to be this outwardly, I can't get the word, just this energy of what she isn't. And when she started to then show up as who she truly was, people were drawn to her, right? She's much more quiet, much more reserved, but when she is being who she is an invitation. You do not have to, air all your dirty laundry. That's not what being vulnerable is about. It's not about telling your whole life story, right? It's about really willing to be present. And when you're present with yourself and you're present with your clients and customers, you're going to pick up on the subtleties. You're going to pick up on the energies of what's going on with someone, right? It's kind of like if you're a parent, you know, you can tell when your child walks in the house. You don't even have to look at them, and you're like, okay, something's up, right? Because you're very present in most cases with your children, right? Those are the people that we don't put airs on for. What if you could be that present with your customers and clients? What would that actually create? You know, in business, a lot of us have a lot of things going on. A lot of us. I mean, I've got more balls in the air than the Harlem Globetrotters. But when I connect with someone, like you, listening right now, I'm present. I'm right here. And all of the rest of it can wait. Nothing else is more important than what I am doing right here, right now, with you. Do you get the energy of that? Would you be willing to be that present with yourself and your customers and your clients? Would you be willing to be ease with it all? That is the key. When you practice vulnerability, when you practice being present with yourself and what's really going on with yourself, you can then extend that over into every single relationship. And in business, if you would like to stand out above and beyond all of the other people out there that are doing something similar to you, and this is not about competing. This is about you showing up as you. There are many, many coaches in the world today. There's lots and lots of business coaches in the world today. There are other people that call themselves possibility coaches as well. But nobody does possibility coaching as Christine McIver does it. When I'm really showing up as me, I create a connection that nobody else can create with that person because I'm different. And so are you. You're different. And that is going to come across in a relationship when you are being that. Okay, my friends, we're going to take our last break of the show, and when we get back, we're going to wrap everything up. I'm so grateful for all of you being here. You are listening to the Inspired Choices Radio Show here on the Inspired Choices Network with myself, Christine McIver, talking about how vulnerability in business adds value. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The pleasure of business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page, Pleasure of Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736 or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Wow, this show went really fast. I think I say that every week, actually. But you know what? When you're enjoying what you're creating, time will go really, really quickly. And in that enjoyment, you will be the invitation. So that's what I'm talking about tonight. When you are enjoying what you're doing and you're being vulnerable with yourself and asking yourself that question, am I enjoying this? What is this creating for me? What am I doing that I love to do? When you're being that vulnerable with yourself, you can show up with your business and with your clients and customers in such a beautiful, beautiful way. You know, another really important thing about vulnerability is being willing to be wrong. When you're willing to be wrong in business, whether it's with your employees, with your colleagues, with anyone, including your customers and clients, when you're willing to be wrong and let them know that without them having to, quote unquote, catch the truth, find the truth, when you're willing to come forward and say, you know what, I messed up, I was wrong, that will show someone your willingness to be vulnerable, and your willingness to step forward is actually something that they can trust. They can trust you. You build trust with your clients and customers when you're willing to be wrong and you're willing to step forward with it. You've got to learn, and you've got to be willing to learn from your choices, my friends. Business is changing, and especially now in the time that we are living in. Business changes very, very quickly, but I'll tell you what doesn't change. Connections. And your return on your relationships, the investment that you put into relationships, starting with you first and then with your customers and clients, they will return dividends that will always be a contribution. They will create more and more. You will be learning about yourself in your relationships with other people that will contribute to your future clients and customers. Being willing to be vulnerable in relationships with employees will create relationships. I was in human resources for 25 years, and I'm telling you, when you're straight up with your employees and you let them see your vulnerable heart, they will create loyalty with you like you can't even imagine. Are you willing to be that vulnerable? Are you willing to be that successful? And my last questions for you before we sign off for tonight is, are you willing to own your own message? Are you willing to own your own brilliance? When you get vulnerable with yourself and you find that there's places where you're uncomfortable speaking about your capacities and your capabilities and what you're brilliant at, that is a telltale sign that there's something in there, there's something stopping you. And getting vulnerable with that, getting vulnerable with, why do I not want to talk about how brilliant I am at this, or what I'm great at, or how I can actually contribute to my clients and customers. When you can unfold and unpack what's stopping you there, that's where you can start to create value in your business for you and for everyone you're connected with. I'm so grateful that you joined me tonight, and I'm so grateful for all that we've created together during this show. Big shout out to my producer, Jennifer, tonight, who's been playing with me, and everyone in the chat room. I can't wait to connect with you next week, where we will dive deep into another subject that may rock your world, light you up, or actually ask some more questions for you. Have a fabulous week, and remember, you can always...
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.